Okay, so here is your basic map of the game, and as you can see, it's Europe set during the pre-war, pre-First World War era. Um, if you look closely at the map, you'll see that some of the spaces have these sort of circular things. Oops, yeah, there. That means that there is a city, a supply city, in that space. And the goal of the game is to control 18 of those supply cities. So that's your ultimate goal, is to reach the end of a turn, so the end of a year, controlling 18 cities. If you move an army into a space, as this red is in this space, that means you've taken control of that city, and you will maintain control of it until someone else takes it from you. That's the goal of the game. The phases, I'll have the phases of the game explained in writing. But what I thought I would do is explain the actual orders and how the orders work. So there's 4 basic orders. The first is hold. Obviously, if you issue a hold order, it just means you stay where you are. So if you ask this army to stay where it is, then it just holds. Oh, I should have said, your 2 basic units are armies and fleets. That's all you have, just those 2 types, and these are not actual pieces for this game. This is a map I printed at work, and these are not real pieces. They're from a different game. But that's not the point. So you have armies and you have fleets. Obviously fleets go in the water, armies go on the land. You can only ever move one space, and you can only move adjacently. And obviously if you're trying to move into a space that is occupied by someone else, so if this army is trying to move into this space, there would obviously be conflict. Conflict is the most interesting part of the game because it's very simple, but also interesting. It has some complexity because every unit has the same amount of strength, and there's never more than 1 unit in a space. You can't share, so there's no way it would ever happen that, say, 2 reds would be in that space. That's not possible. There can only be 1 unit in any space. So let's suppose, for sake of argument, that this red piece wanted to invade this space. So if you were red, let's say Sarah's red, Sarah issues an order to this army to move into Tyrolia. And so her order would be to do that. Remember, we're all submitting our orders separately, and all the orders get revealed all at once at the end of the 1 week period. So Sarah has issued an order for this army to march into here. Let's suppose that this army was just going to hold, just wanted to stay where it was. All things being equal, if that was all that happened, if that was the only thing that happened, Sarah would bounce back. Because Sarah's strength is 1, let's say this is Amrit. Amrit's strength is 1 also, and so 1 against 1, nothing happens, nobody wins. Sarah's unit gets bounced back, Amrit's unit stays where it is. But suppose that during the week that we were having our planning and submitting our orders, Sarah made a secret pact with Ryan, who's green in this example, and Ryan's piece is adjacent to where Sarah is, and so because Ryan's piece is adjacent to where Sarah currently is, Ryan can lend support. So Ryan can issue an order to this army unit in Venezia to support this army unit in Trieste. And if he does that, and Sarah issues an order to march on Tyrolia, and Tyrolia holds where it is, now you have 2 versus 1. And so the effect is that Sarah would successfully invade this territory. Ryan would stay where he is, nothing would change with that army. Sarah would move into Tyrolia and take that space, and now Amrit's piece, Amrit would have the choice of where to go. He would be bounced out of that space. So depending on the circumstances of that particular moment, there could be other pieces. It's possible if there's nowhere to go that Amrit's piece would die. But let's say in this case, Munich is free, and so he bounces back into Munich. And that would be the outcome of that, of those orders. Now, another possibility in that case is that Sarah issues an order to invade Tyrolia, and this is Sarah's fleet in the Adriatic. It's adjacent to where Sarah is, so it can issue support. So let's suppose Sarah orders this army to attack here, and this fleet to support. Okay, now Sarah has 2, but suppose that Amrit was the one who secretly made a deal with Ryan. Ryan doesn't want to see Sarah sweep through this area, and so Amrit makes a deal asking Ryan to support his position in Tyrolia. And so Ryan issues, again, a support order, but in this case he issues support to Amrit's piece in Tyrolia. Now Sarah has 2, Amrit has 2. Both of these units that are involved in the conflict have 1 support, and so they bounce back. It's a tie, and nobody moves. And so the board would stay the same. And so you can see that obviously given an arrangement like that with all these pieces in close proximity, there are many different ways that this could go. Now here's another order that I haven't talked about, or an element of support that I haven't talked about, which is that support can be interrupted by an attack. So let's say Sarah's plan is to attack Amrit there, and Sarah knows that Ryan is going to lend support. She has a very good sense that Amrit is going to ask Ryan for support. She knows that they've got a bit of an alliance. One thing she could try is she could use her fleet to attack Ryan at Venezia, because they are adjacent, and that would disrupt support if successful. So essentially Ryan's piece would have to convert to a hold order instead of a support order, because it would be under attack and it would be preoccupied by, I guess, reacting to that attack. And so that would cut support. Now in this example, that wouldn't actually help Sarah very much, because all that would mean is that Ryan's support was cut, and so Amrit was only at a strength of 1, Sarah only had a strength of 1, so she would still get bounced in that scenario. That wouldn't be a particularly useful move in that particular case. Okay, I think those are the orders that I'm thinking of right now. There's probably more. I'm going to pause the video and then I'll join back in when I think of the next thing I want to say.